Yes, sir. A very good morning to one and all present here. Respected Principal Sir, Dr. S. Anil Kumar, uh, guest speaker for the day, and an alumnus of SSMRV College, Mayur Sir, faculty members, students, my dear friends. We are so happy to tell you that the Entrepreneurship Development Cell of SSMRV College is hosting a webinar on entrepreneurship and Atma Nirbhar Bharat. So just to give you an insight on startups in India today, India ranks fourth in the world in terms of startup ecosystem. There are about funding of about $10 billion in the last 5 years after Modi government introducing the Make in India initiative in the year 2014. And now coming to our own city, Bangalore stands number one in the startup ecosystem in the country. There are close to 400 e-commerce companies in Koramangala area alone. So every street in Koramangala is working on a startup, right? And Bangalore contributes to about 28% of the startup ecosystem in India. So every month, Bengaluru is giving birth to over 10 startups, right? And around 62% of the startup founders have no prior experience. So this is a great opportunity for you people who are just graduating from SSMRV College. 13% of the founders are, they have no experience. 7 out of 10 startups have raised a minimum of 1 crore funding. So you also have an opportunity for venture capitalists, like Principal Sir was mentioning about Atma Nirbhar Bharat, and a lot of manufacturing sector moving out of China and coming into India. It's not only manufacturing sector, it's also the service sector that you guys can adopt. There is a huge problem now after COVID, from supply chain management to e-commerce today has great problem. People like Big Basket, Grofers have failed during the pandemic. So you have opportunity everywhere. It is just that you guys should grab the opportunity and take it forward. And today Mayur sir will help us do that. He's going to share his experience. So now I request Ambika madam to introduce our principal.
Thank you, Professor Ajay. Good morning, all. Dr.
Please
S. Anil Kumar
share
is
the
a...
file.
Share the slide, please, Ajay.
Yeah.
As a next slide, sir.
1 minute.
Dr. S. Anil Kumar is an MCom, a PhD, and a D Literate. He has 4 decades of academic experience and more than 2 decades of research experience. He has guided more than 6 PhDs and 30 MPhil scholars. He has published in various reputed journals. He has presented paper at Harvard University, USA and Griffith University, Australia. He has authored more than 30 books in commerce and management streams. He is a member of Academic Council BU and other academic bodies. He was awarded the Best Teacher Award by the Rotary and a Karnataka Civil Defence Corporation. Received from Governor of Karnataka, His Highness Dr. Hansraj Bharadwaj. He was awarded Abdul Kalam Golden Medal Award from Global Economic Progress and Research Association. He is the innovator of 360-degree education for wholeness model. You can avail his profile at www.sanilkumar.com. Sir, we welcome you for this webinar. Over to Professor Ajay.
Sir,
Thank you so
now
much.
I request our beloved principal to address the gathering.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ambika. Yes. Yes. On behalf of SSMRV College and the management, and on my behalf, I would like to welcome Mr. Mayur. He is our alumnus of SSMRV College, and we are happy to have this particular webinar, especially the important on the topic importance of entrepreneurship, with special reference to Atma Nirbhar Bharat I think this is the right top kind of initiative taken by the ED cell of SSMRV College. I really appreciate the initiative taken by the members of the ED cell uh, and the coordinator of ED cell, Professor Pallavi, Dr. Ambika, Professor Ajay, and of course, and the entire team of ED cell. This gains a very important gains importance now because of the encouragement given by the government of India under Atma Nirbhar Bharat. So we thought this is the right time to educate or motivate our students and the youth, you can say, to take advantage of the situation and become entrepreneurs. Now, in this series of lectures or webinars, we would like to uh, make you understand the kind of opportunities you have in the present times. In this regard, we are planning to have a webinar to know what kind of opportunities you have and what kind of support government is willing to give and how you can also start your own enterprise. So this is the first webinar on this entrepreneurship from the Entrepreneurship Development Cell from SSMRV College, and you will have a lot of such webinars for the students. So I take this opportunity to welcome even our participants, our own students who have taken interest in this particular webinar and make use of this particular opportunity given by the institution. So once again, I would like to welcome Mr. Mayur and take over and continue with the webinar. Thank you, Mr. Mayur.
Thank you so much,
Right.
sir. We are truly blessed to have a leader like you who encourages us to, a greater extent. That is where we are today. Thank you very much, sir, for your
Thank you.
support throughout.
Thank
Now
you
I
so much.
request Professor Pallavi to introduce Mr. Mayur.
Good morning to one and all. It's my privilege to introduce our today's chief guest, Mr. Mayur, who is a photographer and a filmmaker. I feel elated to tell you all that Sir has completed his graduation in business management at SSMRV. As our principal mentioned, he is the alumnus of this college, and he has completed his MBA in International Business, University of Hull, UK. And Mr. Mayur has 12 years of corporate experience. After spending 12 long years in the corporate world, Mayur decided to give it all up to pursue his passion of life photography and filmmaking. So his fine art photographs adorn the walls of art collectors and have been published in the popular coffee table book Bangalore, Mandi, the Hidden Hues of Bangalore Markets. So Mayur has won the Digital Photographer of the Year Award 2011 in the Landscape category UK, and his images were displayed at London Photo Festival 2018. So, Sir started his Photo Mojo, a production house with one underlying purpose, the art of visual storytelling. And guys, it's been 10 years now, and he continues to be a successful entrepreneur. So we feel really honored, and he has a very good clients of. I mean, I can say it's a star cast. So we feel very honored and privileged that you are the chief guest of today's webinar. I heartily welcome you, sir, and I would request you to. I would take a good session, and we will be waiting to hear from you.
Thank you, Professor Pallavi. I mean, I really feel humbled. I don't know if I'll do justice today or not, but it's been an experience worth sharing, I should say. So, yes, looking forward for it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sir, Ajay sir.
Over to you, Mayur, sir. You may start.
Yes, thank you. All right. So, first of all, very good morning and thanks for joining this webinar. I hope you'll find this useful. As Professor Pallavi and Principal Sir and mentioned, I'm an alumni of SSMRV, and to be honest, it was at SSMRV that we got a lot of opportunities way back because ours was a second batch of BBM, right? And we were given a free hand to explore and to innovate and do a lot of things way back. And I just love the way it has grown over the years and to see what it is today. So before I start my presentation, I'll just quickly give you, can I share my screen?
You may share your skills.
Yeah, I'm just seeing. Okay. Sorry. Okay, where is the option to share, if I may ask?
So there is an option called present now.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah,
Yes.
thanks.
Welcome, sir.
Yes, a second. Okay, got it.
So if you click on present now, it is
Yeah,
an entire screen. You can just click on the entire screen, you get a miniature of your screen and just have to click on
got
share.
it.
So that, yeah.
Okay, so are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Great.
Yes, we can.
All right. Is the
Perfect.
audio okay?
Yes, audio is clear, sir. If no, this probably will have to increase the. Is there a background music for this?
Yes, that's okay. I mean, music.
Oh, okay, okay.
So that is in a nutshell about. Are you able to hear me? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So
Please go.
yeah. Sure. So that is in a nutshell. If you see my 10-year journey after I started Photo Mojo, right? So just to give you a quick background, so I did my MBA in London, and then worked for a couple of years. Then after I finished my MBA, typically what next was the question. So I got into the corporate track, and I got into the corporate rat race. And for almost about 13, 14 years, I've spent time working for companies like Hindujas with, managing General Motors, procurement and supply chain, indirect procurement and supply chain for over 350 employees sitting in Bangalore and buying nuts and bolts and papers and anything that goes into General Motors production. Then on, I joined Infosys, and while I was working with Infi, I was managing clients like Caterpillar, British Petroleum, Pepsi, so and so forth, where anything again in the supply chain procurement area that was outsourced to Infosys had to go through me. So we would do the entire re-engineering, business process, outsourcing, how it has to be done, optimize the process, and then bring it down to India and run the operations from here. So during the course of these, at least the last 5 years of my corporate life, I spent a lot of time traveling. And while I was traveling, while I was with Infi, photography as a bug caught on. Now, was I always into photography? Was I always passionate about photography? No. I call myself an accidental photographer or a filmmaker. The reason being, photography happened by chance because my grandfather was, one day clearing his cupboard, and then he found his old Yashica camera. And he said, why don't you take it? And in 2004, the digital had not evolved so much, and the kind of resources when it comes to photography was not easily accessible as it is today. So it was through self-learning, it was through experimentation that, over a period of time, I started enjoying photography as a medium to express. And that's, so when photography happened, and right. So when photography happened in 2004, I started shooting concerts, which was, I'm a great fan of Jethro Tull, Ian Anderson. So he was performing in India, in Bangalore. And I said, let me just go and see if I can get a chance to shoot. And it was during this concert that kind of realized there's a very close relationship between music and photography. And from there on, I have my pictures landed up. So the pictures that I shot of Ian Anderson landed up on the desk of Vijay Karnataka, which is Bangalore Mirror today, the editor's desk. And then I shot the Iron Maiden band, which was performing in Bangalore. And that's where my journey started as a professional commercial photographer. All this while I was working with Infosys, right? So during the week, Monday to Friday, I would spend hours together, long hours at work. But at the same time, when it comes to weekends, I would I would tell my boss that, see, listen, I'm not available to work. I'm not going to work on weekends because I want to pursue something which I enjoy. That's my break time. And during the weekends, I started shooting other work. So from there on, my pictures have been, the rock concept pictures have been published in Rock Street Journal, Rolling Stones magazine, and various other platforms. So I had a chance to shoot Maiden, Aerosmith, Scorpions, Megadeth. Now, these are iconic bands, and I had the front seat, the best seats in the house that you can even imagine to watch these guys perform, right? And then thereon, these pictures kind of by word of mouth spread through clients, through friends, families, and I had a chance to work with some really big names in the music industry, and like Rahman. I had the opportunity to shoot Pandit Ravi Shankar ji. This was his last concert in India. A month or two later, he was hospitalized and we lost him. But this image remains iconic for me because this was like literally the last concert he played in India. So after shooting so many rock bands, I said there's so much more to cover when it comes to Indian classical scene. And then I started concentrating on that. So I've, Indian musicians like Isan, Zakir Bhai, Tilok Gurtu, uh, Pandit Birju Maharaj, Vaijayanti Malaji, John McLaughlin. John McLaughlin is a multiple Grammy winner. And I had an opportunity to spend a couple of days with him, interviewing him, shadowing him. And this was a picture that I shot during one of our candid conversations where he's sitting and talking about his influence with music, India, culture, and he spends a lot of time in India. And not just performing, more than performing, you will find him in Ramana Maharish's ashram in Arunachalam. Pandit Vijay Gate, Anant Kumar, Kumaran Ganeshan, Tawfiq Qureshi. So it just did not stop with music. And then I had an opportunity to work with late Girish Karnad. And this was during one of his plays which he was directing in Rangashankara. Jayant Kinkini sir, Arundhati ma'am, Girish Kasavali ji, Vidya Balan, Rahul Bose. And I spent almost a week with these guys. On the right, you can see the MasterChef Australia team. And on the left is Marco Pia White. Both are amazing chefs and amazing human beings. I'm sure you all recognize this crazy guy on screen, Raghu, who's an amazing musician and an amazing human being. Puneet, Sudeep, Sadhu Kokilaji. So not just celebrities, but also I've done a lot of fashion work, which are, many of these are my personal projects, which I collaborate with artists. And these projects kind of translate into commercial work as well, for clients. But coming from a corporate background, right? I know how, I'm able to relate to the corporate stories better because I know exactly what the corporate stories look like. What are they trying to relate to? So I had an opportunity to work with some amazing companies from Boeing to Cisco to Mindtree to Atlassian to VMware. The list goes on. We have worked with startups. We have worked with Fortune 500 companies, and most of these clients are clients who've been with me for like almost 8 years, 10 years, ever since I started. But the key thing here, interesting part is that whenever I work, especially with corporates, it's just not about taking pictures. There's so much that you learn from them. What is the style of working? Why is it? How do they build bigger companies, greater companies? How do they expand? And it's a constant learning. And photography for me or filmmaking is just not about taking a picture, but it's about learning from these people. It's like, here you're getting paid to study, in other words, right? Sanjay Lalbai, how many of you have heard of Flying Machine? How many of you have heard of Lee, Pepe? They're all manufactured or stitched by his company, Arvind Mills. Now, imagine spending time with a person who's managed to turn around a company like Arvind Mills, which was sinking, which was close to bankruptcy, and to build a brand. So this is again, a couple of corporate shoots that we have done. This is for Mindtree, the board of Mindtree, and I'm sure you'll recognize a lot of faces here. Subrato Bakshi, KK, Rosto, late Siddharth of Coffee Day, uh, Anjan, who's an amazing when it comes to branding and strategy. No one can beat Anjan. So, and my association with Mindtree has been for almost 8 years. And I had a chance, this was from the first shoot that I did, and I had a chance to spend 8 amazing years with them, and I still continue to do so. And there's so much we learned from these four founders who went on to build a $100 million or plus company. And this was the first image I showed you. This one was on the day, was one of my first shoots with Mindtree 8 years back. And if you guys follow, you're following Mindtree, or if you follow what's been happening, about a year back, L&T took over Mindtree and the founders resigned. And this was on the last day when the founders walked out. And this image will remain iconic for me forever. That is what they have built, and that's what it stands for. Right. So these are a few pictures before and after. This was on the left, black and white picture of Subrato on the day I met him 8 years back. And this was, say, about a year back or two. Again, KK, who was the chairman, CEO, and you kind of build a personal bond with them. You become friends. You understand what the brand stands for. What is it that they have built? And a brand typically, when we talk about brand from a marketing perspective, is all about the identity of the company. But it goes much beyond just the identity of the company. It actually goes back to the people behind building the company. And for me, this is how I see them. Right? So we started with photography, and over a period of time, it's been a constant evolution. So when I started Agna is the name of the company, and I started Agna in 2010. And over a period of time, we said, okay, what next? And we have evolved once in 3 years, we kind of reinvent ourselves. So we started with photography, then we got into filmmaking. And again, in filmmaking, we said, okay, do we really want to be doing the weddings and, the mass, where everyone's doing, the mass kind of work? Or do we kind of create a niche for ourselves? And that's why we said, let's get into social documentary. While we were doing corporate films and corporate work, we also said, let's look at some niche which is unique, which no one is exploring. So we decided to swim against the tide. And by saying that we decided to swim against the tide is that while everyone was going and doing photography in terms of weddings, we said we will not do weddings, or rather we won't do so many weddings. And we said we'll look at social documentary and corporate films. And that decision that I took way back has been one of the best decisions, because today with COVID and with the market being so down, corporate work continues to be there. So you got to identify and create a niche. And within that niche, again, we said we are going to go into a subset, which is social documentaries. So when I say social documentaries, we say, what do you mean by social documentaries? Social documentaries are telling stories, human stories, like, CSRs, about education, about health, about entrepreneurs who are doing something different. And that got us into, our work landed on, and we managed to we continue to shoot documentaries for Bill Gates Foundation, which is Bill Gates and Melinda Gates Foundation. We do work for Rockefeller Foundation, C&A Foundation, and they have some amazing human stories projects that they fund in India. And we started shooting that. Now, once that kind of stabilized, we said, what next? And that's where we said, okay, let's look at animation. That was another decision that we took way back, which has come in handy now, because since because of COVID, we cannot step out. And in our business, unless we step out and we are there shooting on ground, revenue will not come. So how do you counter that? So when we said we start doing animation, now today we said, okay, let's reinvent animation. Now we went to clients and we said, let's look at something different. Why do you want to go with your plain vanilla PowerPoint presentations? Think of something different. Let's convert those PowerPoint presentations into amazing animation, where you're instead of sitting through 30 slides, you can tell your story in 30 seconds. And that has kept us busy. Now, once animation happened, what next was the question? Then we said, let's look at design. Why don't we start providing design services? And in 2019, we started design work in terms of not just animation, but anything related to collateral designing, your brochures, your presentations, your logos, and everything kind of stitched together, because the base and the foundation for all of this is creativity. So over the last 10 years, we have constantly reinvented ourselves, right? Now, while we were reinventing, the identity of the brand also has evolved. So our company is still called Agna. And when you talk about Agna means the third eye. You see beyond what you see. And that was the vision. With that vision, we started the company with that name. But then, not many people were able to relate Agna to photography. And in 2 years, we decided that we will rebrand Agna as Photo Mojo, which was more relatable. And also at the same time, when I started off, it was always, oh, Mayur Chennagiri photography. I hope Mayur is going to come and shoot. Oh, Mayur, I hope you're going to be there. Then you are restricting yourself, right? Mayur cannot be there everywhere. Then you cannot really grow a team. So brand Mayur took a back seat and brand Photo Mojo was promoted. So by taking that call today, even if Mayur is not there on a shoot, my team can execute. And that's how we can grow. So these are small decisions that we took over a period of time, which has kind of evolved and helped us. And today, with the situation, the decisions taken 10 years back or 8 years back have kind of come in helpful and handy today. Now, were these decisions taken spur of a moment or on an impulse? No, because there's a lot of planning that has gone into it, a lot of thought process has gone into it. So let me take you back to 2008, 2009. So while I was working with Infi, I wanted to do something different. I wanted to kind of, say, okay, I'm not going to be working for Infosys or in a corporate. I want to do something on my own. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So at that point, I said, what next? What do we do? And we started kind of putting a business plan together, right? Now, when you put a business plan, you kind of decide on, okay, what are the services and products and services that you want to provide? And we started breaking it down. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are the opportunities in the market? So I was giving you an example. Okay, so when in photography, we said, okay, there's wedding photography, there's family lifestyle photography, there's fashion, there's there's music, there's performances. And we started putting them into different buckets. What bucket or what box that you put yourself into kind of defines your future. But then after putting those buckets, we realized what is an outlier where nobody is kind of providing a service. There was a huge gap when it came to corporate work. There were very few players. And that's where we decided that we will concentrate on. And once we decided, we worked backwards. When I say we worked backwards, we said, okay, so corporate work, this is my target for the year, and this is how we are going to proceed. And when we said we're going to start proceeding towards that particular target, we said, okay, if my target for the year is say $100 or what, say 1,000 rupees or 1 lakh or 10 lakhs or whatever, you break that up. We start breaking that down into, okay, if I have to reach a target of 10 lakhs per annum per month, what is my target? And then divide that into further, how many shoots should I do? And how much time is going to happen? Is going to take to kind of, so that kind of gave us a definition of uh, what should be the market that we want to go to. And then the natural question was, how can I find the next opportunity? But over a period of time, we realized that whole thing has changed. Instead of finding an opportunity, we became the opportunity for someone else. So we start talking to corporates and we start telling them that, listen, why do you want to just go with one mugshot of a person? Make it interesting. What is your brand story that you want to tell? Let me give you an example of Mindtree, right? So when we were invited to come and pitch for Mindtree, we were a team of 2 people. Me and I had an assistant, and that assistant was not even a photographer. He was an office assistant, right? And when we met the Mindtree team, there was O&M, linters, and as a procurement process, they said, okay, they need to call 3 vendors to pitch in for this work. Let's call these guys, some guys called Photo Mojo who are based in Bangalore, Jayanagar. Let's just call them. So we went and we listened to what their brand story was. We heard them out in terms of saying, okay, what is it that they want to project? That was an opportunity. But then we walked out. We said we can't do this work. Not because we're not capable, because the visual story that you want to tell as against to the visual story that you are planning, there's a huge mismatch. You want a nice looking faluda or a sundae with the most exotic ice creams and toppings and all those things is what the brand that you want to showcase. Whereas the images and visuals that you're talking about is plain vanilla. So we became the opportunity there for them. And we said, give us a chance to relook at your visuals. If you're ready to work with us, then we will redefine the visuals that you want. And mind you, when we went in, there was already a year-long exercise that had gone into building this whole visual story. And we just rubbished it in one meeting. And we said, we're not going to do it. We walked out. A week or 10 days later, they called us back and said, why don't you give it a shot? We were quite surprised that they took a risk for a company who was competing against O&M and Lowe. And that kind of turned things around, and we've been working with them for almost 8-9 years now. And we redefined the visual story. And every time we worked with them, we would do something different. We would look at their spend. They would, a lot of companies buy stock images, right? I mean, even I'm sure you guys do that. When you do your presentation, you go look for free pics and so on and so forth. You pick those images from the stock images, and then you do your presentation. And they were spending close to about some 40-50 lakhs a year just buying these stock images, which didn't make any sense, because they were an Indian company trying to promote Indian values and Indian opportunities, but their visuals were all with foreign faces and foreign, lack of words. They were all goras. So there was a huge disconnect there. So we said, okay, give us all the words. We will create collaterals for you. And we went ahead and we created images and visuals using their employees shooting on their campus, which there was a huge improvement in engagement when it comes to employees, because they're able to connect with those images. And the second thing is, with one image, when they're showing their facility, when they're showcasing their work, they are able to sell better, saying, this is my campus, or this is my team. And So we became the opportunity for someone else. By becoming an opportunity for someone else, we grew along with them. So always when you look for an opportunity, the question today is, okay, what do we do next? How can we, uh, how can I find the next opportunity? No, you become the opportunity. You see, like sir was saying, right? With COVID, so many companies like the online platform service providers, supply chain providers like Big Basket, and all of them are failing. Though they're not profitable, they're not able to up their game. Whereas you look at a company like Dunzo or Swiggy, right? Dunzo started off as a company where their only job, they saw an opportunity of local courier service, which things happen in matter of minutes. You forget your cable, charging cable, you can have, instead of driving down and picking it up, you can have it Dunzo. That was the opportunity they saw and they started off with. But during COVID, Dunzo was one company which was, they were the busiest because everything had to be shipped and people would use their service. Now, on the other side, Dunzo started off as a delivery service and they diversified into food, into groceries, into so many other things, delivery of so many other things. Now, look at Swiggy on the other side. Swiggy started off as a food delivery platform, but then they were quick to adopt themselves and move from being a food delivery service to so many other deliveries, right? So it is not the rules that have changed, but the game itself has changed. So finding your core in terms of your strength and being agile enough to adopt yourself into something time called what is required in the during that particular phase is very important. You have to be very agile, and that's how you define yourself. So Swiggy or Dunzo, again, if I were to take their examples, we could have just taken the registry and said, okay, we'll just give up. But they decided not to, and they decided to grow. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have used the electric bikes that you can rent. The uh, name skips the bikes that you can rent for a day. But do you know that that was not the core, the company that started delivering the rent a bike was not the core. These guys actually started Wicked Rides started way back when they saw opportunity to rent out bikes, high end super bikes for people who want to go on, who cannot afford to buy the Harleys or the Ducatis. They could rent them out. So they saw an opportunity there and they decided to grow. While that business was going down, they decided to say, I will not give up, but they reinvented themselves. Any questions? So I can stop in between and then I can take questions. If you have any questions, you can either put it on the chat or we can come back to questions later.
Guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, sir.
Okay.
Students might ask later, sir. You can continue.
All right. So was my screen visible all this while? I'm just asking a question.
Yes.
Okay. So the next thing that I just want to share is that when you when you're building a company or when you're building a product or service, you got to have a fantastic team that can support. Now we are all, you know, we keep asking this thing about what is perfection. We are so obsessed with the product or the service being perfect that we keep improvising, and somewhere we kind of lose vision of building a business. So let me tell you from experience, if you have to pursue perfection. There's no two things about it. But while you're pursuing perfection, you should also be uh, relevant enough, and you should be ready to let go when it is too long a time. Do not spend too much time. Remember, it's an 80-20 rule. 20% of whatever you create is art, 80% is craft. The difference is art is where you have the idea, your prototype, and you start creating that. And once the prototype is ready, you should be able to mass produce those things. Right? Now, there's a niche that, when you look around you, be it Apple, or Windows, uh, or you look out on the cars, right? You have the Ducatis and you have the Ferraris and Lamborghinis, which are the 20% art. They fall into that category. But how many of those do you see on the road, as compared to a Hyundai or any other, or Ford or any of the other companies? How many the things that are mass produced? You perfect something and then you mass produce. So you should have that agility again. Keep using the word agility. You should be agile enough to create something unique, but should have the capacity to mass produce that. And it is this 80% mass production that is going to fund your 20%. 20% that you create will not fund you enough. It might barely pay your bills, right? So it is very important that you create a prototype, but it should be light enough and that you can mass produce it. Now, how do you mass produce it? Can Mayur alone be there to keep shooting and this thing? No, Mayur cannot be everywhere. So I created a team. And do I have the skill set to be a videographer, to a photographer, to an editor, to animation? No. I built a team around that. Each person in my team has a certain skill set that they come with, and they are the experts in that skill set. So you build a team, and such that they complement your vision, and your vision becomes their vision, and that is very important. You have to have a team that will complement, that will challenge you. You don't need people who will say yes sir for everything. They should challenge you for everything. Only then will the best come out. That brings me to the next point, that is, be ready to unlearn. What the photography that I knew when I started off has evolved over a period of time, right? The filmmaking has evolved over a period of time, and I've constantly unlearned and learned new things. And had I not done that, I would have stayed irrelevant today. Today, the cameras have become smarter. In many cases, DSLRs are going to be outdated soon, and our phones are becoming smarter, more powerful, that they can produce amazing results. Do I really need to know the exposure triangle, how a camera works? No. Technology has evolved, AI has evolved so well that the cameras or the cameras or the phones can take better pictures technically, but is the human element behind that, right? The person who's taking the picture, the creative, that's what is going to stand out, and that's what is going to make the difference. So you unlearn and learn new things. Otherwise, you will always be you'll be outdated in no time. So reinvent what was a 3-year cycle for me today has become a 6-month cycle. So to give you an example, in March, early Feb and March, when COVID hit and the lockdown was being announced, we were agile, we were quick to adopt that during the pandemic and the lockdown, when a lot of companies were shutting down and a lot of photographers and filmmakers were figuring out what to do next, we were busy because we adopted technology. We started doing, I mean, I'm sure you would have seen the FaceTime selfies. We were doing that way before. We have moved forward. In fact, we've actually been shooting videos using FaceTime. Our model always was that 80% of the work is going to be done in-house and 20% collaboration. That is, we will work with other people around when required. But with pandemic, our model just flipped. Today, it's 80% collaboration, 20% in-house. We cannot travel. We cannot be everywhere. We don't want to risk. So how do you keep the business afloat? So we switched the model, and now we collaborate more, but the creative process stays in-house. We started using Zoom. We started using FaceTime. I mean, there's loads of the platforms available where we can use, and that's something which you got to do. So be willing to unlearn. And I have learned, so when I say other thing I wanted to share with you is that learning happens not just on online, but also within your team, with your peers. You will probably learn more from your team. And that's how you. So, and other thing, so one more point is that never be shy to ask for help. But when you ask for help, make sure that you're reaching out to the right mentor, a mentor who can help you with your requirements and has the knowledge of uh, the problem that you're facing, right? And thankfully for me, while working over the years, I've had some fantastic mentors at every point. You know, there's one particular person, Shrikant, who runs a company called Hexagon, which is into portfolio management and wealth management. So I reach out. He's my mentor when it comes to finances. I reach out to Subrato Bakshi whenever I need, to think about how do we evolve, what next, because he's fantastic when it comes to poking holes in your plan. And Mohan Das Pai has been another great mentor for me. When I started off, when I quit my last day at Infosys, I went up to him and I told him that this is my last day and I'm going to quit. A person who's so busy and people wait for weeks together to find a time, spent about an hour and a half trying to understand my business plan. He asked me the toughest questions. And at every point, he would raise a red flag. And if I had an answer, he would say, yes, okay, let's move on. If not, he would guide me and give an answer. And after 1.5 hours of conversation, he was confident enough that, okay, the business plan is decent. I wouldn't say solid, but it was decent enough. So find a mentor who can challenge you. Just like how you need a team that's going to challenge you, you need to find a mentor who's going to challenge you. So the next thing that I wanted to share was, yes, give something valuable for free, but never do anything for free if it is going to cost you time and money and effort. The reason why I put this slide is a lot of people are going to come and tell you, oh, I'm going to give you exposure. You will be showcased. Your product, I'm going to get you 100 free users or 1,000 users to your platform, but I'm not going to give you money. Remember, exposure, likes, social media activation will not pay your bills. If you find a landlord where you're renting an office space, is ready to accept rent in terms of exposure, then please hang on to him. Don't let go of him. So do not do that mistake of people when they tell you that we're going to give you exposure. Yes, but that is going to cost you my time and effort and skill. Always charge. Always make sure that you add a dollar amount to your efforts. So earlier I spoke about perfection, right? Now there's also perfection and then procrastination. They are like two sides of the coin. Uh, so when the lockdown happened, first reaction was like, shit, what are we going to do? Business is going to get affected. Yes, we all went through that. And then I saw an opportunity there saying, all these months, I've been making a to-do list of things that I wanted to do. Now, all these items on the list where I kept pushing them, saying, oh, I don't have the time, or now is not the right time. Then I saw this lockdown as an opportunity to sit and work on those to-do items. And in matter of weeks, I was able to strike off 60 to 70% of those items. Not because then what made me realize this is that during my regular days when I was working, I kept procrastinating. I kept saying, okay, अभी time नहीं है, कल करेंगे, etc. etc. But then I just had to sit and do it. So do not procrastinate. If you have to do something, do it now. The best way to do that is I always have a to-do list. I always have a book. I always keep making notes as to what are the things that need to do. And then you go about doing that. I start my day with a to-do list. And trust me, by pinning myself down to the desk for a couple of hours, most of the items are finished. And I rarely carry forward things for a later day. And then since it is a teamwork that happens, there's a lot of connecting dots. So once I'm done with my job, my team starts working like a production line. So make a list, have a to-do list, make sure you follow up on that, and then you keep working on that. So one of the second last slide, if I may have to say, is invest in yourself, invest in your family. Because when things go down, it is your family that's going to stand by you. So when I started way back, I could have just taken a decision and said, you know what, I'm just going to do it. But no, I sat down with my family, I sat down with my wife, with my parents. I kind of shared what I wanted to do. They had certain conditions that they put across. And it was a very clear thing saying that, yeah, okay, you're chartering into an unknown territory. And if you survive the storm for a year and you come out successful, then we'll continue on this journey. If that doesn't happen, then I go back to my corporate job. So always have a plan B. Always plan A, plan B, plan C. If this fails, what happens next? But when you're having your the plan A, B, C, D, E, whatever, always make sure that you have the buy-in from your family and the support, because that is going to go a long, long way. So just want to end with saying that yes, 10 years journey, amazing portfolio, amazing shoots, amazing stories to tell, but it's not been an easy ride. Nothing is going to be easy. In the course of 10 years, I've gone through ups and downs, personally, emotionally, and business wise. There have been days, there have been months, there have been years where I've gone through depression and I said, I'm just going to shut this down. I'm not doing this anymore. But I always pull myself through. There have been days when everything is going right, creatively, I'm not happy. And I say, I want to give it up. But no, I know that I want to build a brand. I want to leave behind a legacy. I want to do something that people will remember, that yes, they built something like this. You have some fantastic examples. Steve Jobs, we all know what he did. He started something in a garage shed with a friend, and he went on to build the most iconic companies, Apple. On the Indian side, we have people like Aziz Premji, who started Wipro. And with his success, he turned the entire story of philanthropy. You can give, but he built a company, he built a brand that is going to survive beyond Premji. Tatas, Birlas, the list goes on. So let this be a reality check. Whatever you're planning to do, you will have successes, which will kind of take you till here. Then you will have failures, but do not give up when failure hits, and be ready to reach out to people when you are at the bottom. It's very easy to tell a story sitting here saying when your bank balance is fat and everything is going well. But will you be able to tell a story, continue to tell a story when your bank balance is not fat and when it starts depleting and you're down to the last penny? And are you still able to smile and tell a story? That's what is going to make a difference. And that's what is going to set you apart. So this is my story. There's a few things that I have learned over the last 10 years. And any questions?
Guys, if you have any questions, please unmute yourself and ask.
Sixty people, no questions. So there can be only two things: that you understood everything or you didn't understand anything.
Mr. Mayur,
Yes.
it was a wonderful session, very inspiring sort. I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me tell, I want to start up a business, okay,
Mm-hmm.
but I have short of hands. I would like to know what kind of jobs can be outsourced. You can take an instance of your job itself. So you can just tell me, I mean, what can be outsourced and what should not be?
Okay, so the what is the one thing that cannot be outsourced is your core competency, right? For example, in my case, uh, when we talk about photography or filmmaking, the script writing, the direction, the screenplay is something which cannot be outsourced because that's my vision. Whereas when it comes to camera work, when it comes to DOP, when it comes to editing, is something which can be outsourced. So for every business, there is a core competency. As founders, right, what happens is that we are so attached to our product or service that we are scared to let go of it. So that is something which you should be ready to. Unless you share and collaborate, you will not get fresh ideas. You will kind of get stale. So always kind of figure out what is your core competency that you're trying to build in your company, and then see that is 80-20 rule again, right? The 20% remains and 80% can be outsourced and collaborated. I hope that answers.
Yeah. I have another question. Um, I mean, instead of redoing entire thing, um, can I use a part of my work which I have designed for another client? I mean, previously for the future clients. Is it?
Brilliant. Thanks for asking that question because that was something which I was just looking at my notes and I realized that I'd missed it. Thanks for asking that question. So one of the things that we should always remember when we are building is that there's unique product and then there is something which you reuse constantly. Again, I was talking about the art and the craft, right? Now, art is the 20% that you create, but the 20% is going to keep getting reused again and again and again, which is fine because when you look out, when you go and see outside, when you look at opportunities, right, or when you look at the requirements, you'll find that 20 to 40% of the requirements are very similar to other clients. But it is the 60% that is going to kind of define and differentiate you. So is it okay to copy someone? Yes, absolutely. You know, it's okay to copy another product or service, but what's going to make you stand apart is what is the value addition that you get. You have to kind of reinvent, you have to kind of repurpose, you have to keep changing, but it's okay to copy. Now, Flipkart was not a unique product or a service. It was a copy of Amazon, but Flipkart customized their services to India. So the platform that was built on an Amazon looking platform or a similar platform. Jia Talk is no different from Zoom Talk. They have blatantly copied everything. So it is okay to repurpose, and you should. How many of you have heard of Tesla? I'm sure all of you heard of Elon Musk and Tesla, right?
Yeah.
When Elon Musk started Tesla, he came with this vision of electric cars. But do you know where his majority of his revenue comes? It's not from the sale of his cars. A huge portion of his revenue comes from repurposing the batteries and the technology that he has built for his Tesla cars and rebranding and selling it to competition like Mercedes-Benz. In fact, if you read about Elon Musk or if you read his biography, there's one entire section where he says that within the Tesla floor, there is one section which is kept aside for Mercedes. So it is absolutely fine to repurpose, and it should be. I see a question. I hope that answers.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
So there's a question.
Yes, sir.
Apart from renovation and creativity, what else is required as a major to be more? Sorry, can you rephrase that question, please? Innovation and creativity, what else is required?
Anantraj, if you can unmute yourself and reframe the question and answer.
Ajay sir, sorry, your voice was breaking.
Yeah, Anantraj, if you can reframe the question and ask sir again. Anantraj, kindly unmute.
Okay, let let me try understand. So apart from innovation, character required. Okay, uh, resilience, patience is very important. You have to you have to be very patient. Things are not going to happen overnight. So you have to be patient, you have to be resilient, you have to have the drive to do something different. And you should also be humble enough to take an answer when someone says no. You should take that as a feedback and fix. So there were times in the beginning of my career when I wanted to, I've approached galleries to display my work, or I've come across clients and have shared things about my work, and I've heard no for an answer. But yes, was I dejected? Was I depressed? No, not depressed, maybe, but was I dejected? Yes, I was dejected. I was like, what the hell? But I went back and I said, okay, what is it different? How can I improve? The urge to learn something new constantly has to be there. And that is going to be a strongest point. I hope that answers your question, Arun. Bindu, how do you manage stress? Yes, so that's a tough question. How do I manage stress? For me, uh, so I always find, okay, so you have passion, and when passion becomes your daily job, that no longer remains your passion. Let me be very honest. I'm extremely passionate about photography, but today, running this organization, I probably do only about 10% of my work, of shooting. But I still go back, and for me, the stress buster is doing what I love. But at the same time, I find alternative avenues. Like, I love riding. I get onto my Harley and I just go on a ride. That's one way of managing stress. Spend time with the family. You know, there's nothing like that. That's probably one of the best stress busters. But yes, exercise, meditate. You'll be surprised. Even if it means, just being sitting silently, not talking, not doing anything. Meditate, I don't, that doesn't necessarily mean, you have to chant. That helps, that takes you to the next level. But just being silent for some time kind of helps you to gather your thoughts. Uh, be ready to accept that stress is going to be part and parcel of your entrepreneurial journey or otherwise. Talk to friends, talk to mentors. It helps. Share. Many times you might not have to talk, you might just have to listen to others, and you might find your answer there, right? So the way that I said, there are things that I find alternative away from my core job that I do today to kind of manage my stress. I hope that was the answer you were looking for.
Participants, any more questions?
Bindu, I just want to add one more thing, right? Uh, you will always find competition. You will always have a competition right next to you, competition in the next road, next city, next building, next town, wherever. But the only competition that you should have is your own self. Because sometime back, I remember reading this where the author said everything that has to be invented has already been invented. You just have to repurpose and improvise. Do I agree with that? Not 100%, but a lot of things have been invented. But you will always find an opportunity to improve that and do something different. So the only competition that you should see is yourself, nobody else. Classic example, we all have we get this instant gratification, right? Oh, I put an image on Instagram or social media and I have 100 likes. But at the same time, I put a photo picture up and I find that only about 10 people like. What do you think is my favorite picture, the 100 likes or the 10 pictures? For me, it is those 10 pictures that sorry, 10, picture with 10 likes is what is my favorite, because I put that picture because I like it, not because. Don't get drawn through this social media gratification, instant gratification. You will not find some gratification. As long as you're doing something that you like, as long as you're enjoying something that you do, you will be fine. And talk to people. I don't know if I have what's being displayed. Yeah. So on screen, you can see my contact details. And I tell this to everyone. I'm accessible on social media. I'm not very active, but I'm accessible on social media. I'm accessible on phone. I'm accessible on mail. Reach out. If at all you guys want to talk, you feel free to talk and reach out to me. I'm there. Prashant, thanks for the question. Bindu, I hope that helps. How do you find the right mentor for you? Every mentor is different. Not all of them are correct. You will never have a single mentor. Talk to people, right? Again, now, for example, if you want to talk about creativity, about building, a visual story, something, you'll probably reach out to me. But I will know someone who might be a person who's good at finance, and I'll be able to connect you to them. And that person, it's all about networking. It's all about networking. So someone will know someone will know someone. And the most important thing with a mentor is that he or she should be able to tell you that you're going wrong. There was a time I've tried, okay? I mean, photography and filmmaking, this agency is just one of the ventures that I've tried in the last 10 years. Apart from this, I've tried at least about 3 to 4 different things related to photography and not related to photography or visual medium. And there have been ideas where I've gone and pitched to Subrato, for example. And within a matter of 30 minutes, this is his words. Mr. Chanagiri, please stick to your core competency, which is storytelling. Don't try to be a bania. So find a mentor who is ready to give you that answer. Tell you that this is not your competency, stop wasting your time. And be ready to accept that and see if that makes sense and let go of it. Just because they say no doesn't mean that you have to give up, but evaluate that response. But find. So how do you find? There are so many platforms. For example, do check this out. There's a platform called Founders Institute. Okay. So Founders Institute is one platform which I at one point was part of it, where I learned a lot of things about startups. Founders Institute, you enroll yourself. They have these batches of 20 people that they take, 20 or 30 people that they take. But again, there's a rigorous process that you have to go through. There, they mentor you through every phase. You had people from different aspects, different fields who come and talk about it. And then by end of it, out of the 30 people, only two of them survive. And when these two people survive, they are taken to the next level. And they have various levels of, you know, different levels where you got to clear. Founders Institute is an international platform, but they do have a chapter in India. So do check them out. So that would be one good place to start with. Prashant, I hope that helps. Aishwarya, how do you convince your team to work along? See, there are a couple of things that motivate people, right? Money is always one of the motivators, but that has changed a lot in the last couple of years. It's it's never only money. It is about, are you providing a challenging atmosphere for your team in to do something different, right? Now, as a boss or as a team lead or as a founder, we are so attached to what we have created that it's either my way or the highway. If you take that approach, no team will survive. You had to collaborate with them. The minute you start collaborating with them, they will also feel motivated that it okay, here's something which I believe in. And when they come back and say this is not working, this is the other way of doing things, then be ready to accept that. Be ready to say you're wrong. I don't know how many times I say that every week with my team. And they feel that Photo Mojo or Agna is theirs. I'll give you an example. When you have a good that I love buying gadgets, right? There's let's go and buy this camera, or let's upgrade our lens kit, or let's do this, let's do that. My team will come back and say, "Sir, we've had a fantastic month. We had a fantastic quarter. Let's wait and watch. Let's see what's going to happen. We don't need that equipment today. We can always do jugaad." Or animation. Like I said, right? I'm not an expert when it comes to keystroking, but I know how the animation should look. So when I sit with my team, I give the idea, I share the design, I share the artwork, I share the vision, and I let my team create it. They come up with some amazing designs. And that's how you keep your team motivated. So I'll tell you, these are words described by my own team members when we completed 10 years 2 months ago. They said, Photo Mojo is not a production house, it's a creative lab. And I think that is one of the best testimonials I've received from anyone for that matter, and that too coming from my team. So you can either take an approach of Steve Jobs' style of working, where he would, in his initial years, he would be so stringent that people hated working for Steve Jobs, but believed in his vision. And they were not very happy. They were not contented. And your team turnover is going to be that much high. Or you can take an approach, what Steve Jobs did later in his years after he was thrown out of Apple, where he took the team along with him. That's how he created Pixar. Pixar, he said, I have a vision of creating something different from Disney. And he got the best minds to come and work for him. But the Pixar approach was not top down, it was bottom up. So you are part of the team, you're not the boss. And that's how we keep them motivated. Aishwarya, I hope that helps.
Thank you so much. Any more questions, participants? Thank you. Thank you very much, Mayur sir, for sharing your experience. What a journey it is. Your journey is such incredible and has inspired all of us today. I'm really proud, to tell everyone that I know Mayur sir and he's an alumni of SSMRV College. So the key takeaways from today's webinar is create something unique, which is the key to success. So startups talk about USP today. So that's what Mayur sir was mentioning about USP. You need to be unique. And he also said, don't wait for the opportunity. You become an opportunity, right? Thank you so much, sir. And he was also focusing on things to unlearn. When you're starting something new, you'll have to unlearn what you already have and learn something. And then he also told us that have the right mentor. Yeah, that is very important today to guide us throughout our journey. And then one important point that he mentioned is invest in yourself and your family. That is for emotionally backing you up throughout the journey. Thank you very much, Mayur sir, for an incredible presentation. Thanks a lot. And I'm also privileged to tell you that Mayur sir has also designed the SSMRV Alumni Association logo. Thank you so much, sir, which we launched it in the last alumni meet. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Ajay sir, and thanks for all the lovely questions. I keep telling people that there are only two times where there are no questions. One is everything has just gone over the head, or you haven't understood anything. So I haven't put you to sleep. That's good to know. And yes, thanks a ton. And yeah, keep motivating yourself, keep innovating, reach out to people, network, and stay safe.
Sure, sir. Thank you very much. I
Thank
extend my
you.
heartfelt thanks to our beloved principal for this
Yes.
opportunity, coordinator of ED Cell, Professor Pallavi, Dr. Ambika ma'am, Gokul sir, and all the participants. On a Monday morning, we had about 70 participants. So
Wow.
so this shows that the interest that you have towards entrepreneurship. Thank you so much, Mayur sir, once again. On behalf of SSMRV, thank you very much. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Have a
Thank you.
great day ahead, sir.
You too. Thanks.
Pallavi ma'am, is there something that you want to tell?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mayur sir. It was a really very good session. Looking forward to for more sessions like this.
Yes, it's been a pleasure, and uh, it's it felt good to kind of talk about my journey, which in a summary, and
Yeah,
there's a lot I have learned from this presentation. There are things that I had forgotten, or
no
things
sir.
that I did.
Once the situation gets better, I would like to invite you to the college itself. So looking forward for that.
Absolutely, that'll be my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Very good session.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Thank you so much. So with this, we come to the end of the presentation. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you all. Have a great day, all
Thank
of
you.
you.